Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
I promise you, this is not a political podcast.
Jump, from the deep into the pool, set up the mood. Paranoi Radio, set up the mood. Paranoi Radio, set up the mood. Paranoi Radio, set up the mood. 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 Set up the mood.
I did a show with reality czars, and it was like a panel type show, and this chick on there was like, "Why are you on this show?" I was like, "What does that mean, dude?" Like, I just like being in the conversation, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like sugarcoating, or I'm not like some kind of different person offline. I'm the same person all the time. You will, dude. I just had it. I went to what's the place called? Firehouse Subs. Do you have Firehouse Subs out in LA or out in California?
No, not that I've seen him.
Oh, it's the best, dude. If you haven't had Firehouse Subs, it's like it was like created in Florida in like Tampa, and now they've grown all over the southeast. I don't know how far they've gone out, but I was at Firehouse Subs earlier, and there was a group of guys that was working in there, and I mentioned that I was on a podcast because they were talking about my hat, and they were like, you ever clash with LA people?" And I was like, "No, not at all." And they were like talking about my hat and everything, how people from LA always wear these, their LA Dodgers baseball hats, and I was like, "No." And then I was saying how I was going to be on your show tonight. And then it led to the conversation of, I got a podcast and all this stuff. So I was talking the exact same way that I'm talking to you now. It was the same. I had the same conversations with those guys as I am with you. So yeah, there's no difference in me, no matter what show I go on, no matter who I'm talking to. I could be talking to the president. I'll be the exact same way, dude, you know? So
Yeah, man.
no difference.
Authenticity.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, bro. I'm
Keeping it
that's a
real,
great way
bro.
to answer. By the way, did you guys win? Did you guys win? T-ball
Which
game?
one?
The T-ball game?
We didn't have a baseball game tonight. No, it was we got a game on Thursday, but I'm playing against my local rival. So I want
Yeah.
to beat him, you know what I mean? So
I hope you guys win, bro. Hopefully
thanks,
next time we
man.
meet, you tell me a good story about that and you guys go to the championships. That'll be great. All
Yeah, my
right.
son has always been on the losing team, and I've been the coach. So we're finally
Uh,
starting to win now. So that's a big
okay.
difference.
Okay. Here we go. Or either he became a real good T-ball player or you became a better coach, or both of you probably leveled out, you know?
Well, dude, to be honest with you, man, I didn't realize how bad politics were in local youth sports, in like
Wow.
recreation sports. It is terrible, dude. I had no idea. For people out there listening, if you're gonna post this or not, I don't know, but like if you're a new parent and you're starting to put your kid in youth sports, be prepared for all kind of weirdness, all kind of politics. It's so bad. But essentially what they do is they stack teams. The winner of the season, the regular season, gets to coach the all-star team, and the all-star team gets to essentially go play in like state level, US level, that kind of stuff. Like they go to different tournaments as they grow up. So the key is for a lot of these people in local sports is to stack their teams, and then so they can win the regular season to be the coach for the all-star team, right? So like again, there's a conspiracy there too if you want to go down that rabbit hole, but there's a lot of politics involved, a lot of daddy ball, which is basically paid travel ball players and stuff like that. So it
And
is
a
what it
very
is, man.
expensive lifestyle because I've seen some people, one of my coworkers is a little league a T-ball coach, and trust me, like they have to travel a lot. He takes days off work for months and sometimes
Exactly.
because they need to be traveling. And I mean, hey, it's a definitely an interesting lifestyle and something that our kids need. You get to bond with kids and teach them how to be outside, and we all need a little bit of sunlight and grounding, if anything. And that could be a powerful outlet.
Yeah, I'm kind of like give me all your dejected players. I want all the That's why I usually lose, is because I'm at least mentoring kids who are, the forgotten ones, the ones with, single parent homes, that kind of stuff. And not that I'm some
That's
kind of Christ like,
beautiful.
yeah, I'm not saying I'm some kind of Christ like figure, but I just feel like those are the kids who need the most love and attention and all that stuff.
You in
And
there, you're in there to give them an experience, not necarily to make money off of it, right? Or to
right,
make
yeah.
a legacy. I hear
Yeah,
you.
I'm trying to create kids who like baseball, to be honest with you, just to give them. The sports kept me out of all kinds of trouble my whole life. My mom was amazing. My mom and dad, they put us in sports our whole lives, man. From basketball, baseball, wrestling, football, everything you could think of. And so we never had a season where we could rest and go find stuff to get into. We didn't go get into drugs. We didn't go get into alcohol. We got
Mm.
into fights because we were little redneck kids from the South, but we didn't get into any major trouble, and that was because we were always in sports. We never wanted to fail like our physicals and stuff like that. We never wanted to fail drug tests because we wanted to play sports. Because to
Mhm.
us, sports is how you got girls. So it was like, that was it, dude.
You were a jock. Yeah.
Yeah,
Back
yeah,
in the
yeah.
day, if you were out of shape, yeah, that's the only way to keep like not even the popular kids would get girls more than the jocks, man. I know that. And I was born in 1990. We're gonna get started here, bro, because I don't want to take a lot of your time.
Sure.
Uh, Testicles 1, 2, testicles. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Paranoi Radio podcast. I am Trebles Garcia, your humble host, and I want to thank the Lord for allowing me to be here today, and I want to thank every single one of you for allowing me to enter your space. Guys, we're on YouTube. I have an amazing episode lined up for all of you guys that's going to be out on YouTube, premiering very, very soon. You guys could check out all the other stuff. Guys, I'm going through some like an emotional imbalance, chemical imbalance situation, spiritually attacked right now. So if I start cursing out of nowhere, I apologize beforehand. I want to thank every single one of you guys for tuning back in. Remember that this is the best show with the best content for the best listeners. Every single day, dropping episodes and depositing into the bank of knowledge. Do not forget to check us out at ParanoidRadio.com. Check out the affiliations with Flavors of the Forest. Check out the YouTube channel. And also drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify because that allows other people to enjoy the show as much as I enjoy making it. As a matter of fact, I just dropped a Lifeline, 24/7 Lifeline link on the website. Why? It's because people around me and even myself have been contemplating and entertaining suicidal thoughts. So we don't need no more fathers. We don't need no more mothers. We don't need no more sisters and brothers or cousins or uncles or aunties lost in death, lost to the grasps of death. We don't need more people dying and killing themselves. If you need to talk, reach out to me. You could hit me up directly. You could hit up directly on Instagram. If you want to talk to somebody that's not connected to the show, you could also click on that link. Hold on. We're here to help. You're not alone. We felt this pain before. And also, now, allow me to jump in from the deep end of the pool and set the fucking mood. Please give a warm welcome to returning guest, host of his own show, The Awakened Podcast. What's going on, Brad? How's it going?
What's up, dude? Yeah, that's a beautiful message. Anytime you can help somebody, dude, that's amazing. I got some good friends who made a movie called Tribal. I'm a veteran, and I got some friends who are veterans, and made a movie called Tribal. It's about suicide. We lose a lot more people off the battlefield than we do on the battlefield. People are always, when people ask me about my service, they're always like, "Oh, you must have lost so many friends," because I was in the service for almost 8 years, or for 8 years or more, and people always ask me about losing friends, and I'm like, dude, I lost way more friends at home than I did, on the battlefield. So I got some friends who have a great documentary called Tribal, and it's a tearjerker, man. You will cry. It's out on Amazon Prime Video right now. I don't think
Mm.
it's on Netflix, but it's on all the major platforms. Go there and check that out, man, and just know that you're not alone with anything. Listen, we're human beings. We're here to experience this existence for a short period of time. Don't end it short. The God's putting you through that darkness so you can see that light. So don't end it too short. Hang out with us, man. Send me a message, send me a text, send me a email, direct message, whatever you can send me if you feel alone out there. Don't feel like you're by yourself. You got a tons of friends. There's a tribe you can vibe with out there that's very similar to you. So, but yeah, great message, man. Great way to intro it. So
Thank you, bro. Thank you. And where can people find your show, bro?
theawakenedpodcast.com. Easy.
Oh yeah, the Weekend Podcast. They're kicking butt. Matt, shout outs to I don't know the guy, so I can't really shout outs. And I know we hate each other. We probably talked shit about each other some time ago. But shout outs to Reality SARS for having you on. At the end of the day, we're all podcasters and we're all here to content create, and collaborate with each other. So I'm really happy that he had you on his show and you guys had a killer episode. And I could only imagine the greatness that you deposited into his show. And so yeah, Matt, shout outs to those guys out there doing their thing. And obviously you, bro, you're cooking with gas, and I think this has there's never ever been a place in time and documented the human history where people are searching for this type of material. I like to say that we are the mainstream media now because we bring forth all this information and then a second look at the things, at the information that they are bringing down to us. For example, that loony ass freaking dick shaped space jump, whatever they did, whatever the freak they did, it's retarded. Anyway, but yeah, man, if you guys have going through any issues, make sure you hit us up. And today you have some information. I wanted to make it a little light topic, more loose end, and then just bounce off of each other. I know you're into UFOs, and you did a little a research deep dive on the Phoenix Lights, and I think something like that would be intriguing. Something like Battle LA. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, man. Yeah, the Battle of LA. But first of all, I want to go back for a minute to what you
Yeah.
said. Everybody is getting into this stuff for sure. Like I mentioned to you a while ago, I was at Firehouse Subs. There was four young black men, had to have been 17, and all of them were talking about skinwalkers and UFOs and all these crazy topics that you would have never been able to talk about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, which is wild to me, man. So it was a great time talking to those guys. So yeah, everybody's awakened to this it's a revelation of something that's going on, and I feel like we're converging towards something. All this information is sort of coming to a point where we're all putting the pieces together faster and faster and faster and faster, and I don't think we'll have the exact answers, but man, it feels like we're getting closer and closer. We're uncovering some hidden history, and part of that is the Battle of LA, right, which happened February 24th to 25th in 1942. So this was a couple months after Pearl Harbor happened.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so for those who don't know, it's the famous photo of a bunch of lights pointing to the sky. I don't, you may or may not have seen it when you Google Battle of LA. First of all, when you Google Battle of LA, you're going to get a lot of Rage Against the Machine stuff. I love Rage Against the Machine, right?
Mhm.
You're going to get a lot of that kind of stuff, but I think a lot of that is intended to flood the web with information, so you don't get any information on the real Battle of LA, which is the UFO incident over Los Angeles. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's a
And
lot of
I have to admit that movie Battle LA, Battle of LA,
the Battle of LA. That's
The
right.
Battle of LA. That's a great underrated movie. Such an underrated movie, man. I loved it. I like one of my top favorite movies. I'm telling you right now. I loved it. It's not because it's based during that time, but because that's how I would imagine my alien abduction, not alien abduction, alien takeover would be. So yeah, the invasion. Yeah,
Well, so
bro.
for those who aren't familiar, again, on the night of February 24th, 1942, radar picked up an unidentified object about 120 miles off the coast of LA. Excuse me, about 2:21 in the morning, anti-aircraft batteries were put on alert. And basically by 3 a.m., they started just like unloading. They unloaded like 1,400 shells at this light at this thing in the sky. So there was something stationed in the sky, lights were pointed at it, and basically the army was just unloading at something. And nothing happened, nothing fell out of the sky. But I remember watching a documentary a while back of a bunch of people who experienced this, and they were talking about how it was just like everybody in LA knew about what was going on. They were all out, and they was like watching like fireworks in their yards. I remember hearing this one guy, he's really old now. Obviously, this was in 1942, so this guy was really old, and he was saying that how you could just go and collect shells, like military or gun shells off the beach or whatever, off the excuse me, off the I don't remember exactly where he was saying it was, but there was a bunch of houses along the coast that he was collecting all these shells at and stuff. So yeah, basically, man, this no wreckage was recovered from this aircraft. In the War Department by then, at that time it was called, was initially claimed that it was like enemy aircraft, and they basically said it ended up being a weather balloon, which is always the explanation you get from the
Yeah,
military. It's
a
always a weather
Chinese
balloon.
weather balloon. Those freaking Chinese, man.
They've been doing it they'll never get old. I mean, they did it with Roswell. They're doing it with the Battle of LA. The significance, though, man, is that that Los Angeles is on the 33rd parallel. So is Roswell. So is many other historical sites throughout history. A lot of them involving around the 1940s, whenever all this stuff started happening, like the Trinity site was where they tested all the nuclear bombs in like 1945, like July of 1945. So a lot of history has happened around this same. Again, Roswell was part of the 509th, or maybe it was the 506 bombardment group, which was the bombardment group that bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which was also on the 33rd parallel. So all of these things
Connection.
connect. Yeah, all these things connect. But anyways, the Secretary of the Navy, Frank Knox, basically said it was a false alarm, all this other stuff. They were kind of touting also that because Pearl Harbor had just happened, they were saying it was like, Japanese war fighters off the coast and all this stuff. So initially that was the response. It was like they were fighting against the Japanese. So there's this theory that with the Battle of LA, oh, by the way, there was 5 people died, three were in car accidents, I believe, and two had heart
Oh,
attacks.
so there was
So,
casualties.
yeah, but allegedly those were car accidents and heart attacks from the chaos that was going on.
Hmm.
Most people believe it to be a UFO encounter. Some people believe it to be a psychological operation, which, basically show them that something's going on so we can get involved in the war, right? And so that was another,
Whoa.
yeah.
Uh,
And so again, there's also people who believe it was a military experiment. But the most common one is that it was a UFO, at least in my world, right? I don't know of anybody who thinks of it as like this, um, crazy Japanese attack on the LA coast, you know?
I have to as a conspiracy theorist, I have to critically analyze stuff and before I even like and try to debunk it before I even say it out because then I'm gonna be held accountable for what I say. So I they didn't throw they were not blasting this thing down just for a couple of minutes. They went for how long exactly? It was more than 30 minutes. I know they were
Many
bashing the
hours.
skies. They were
Yeah, it
bad
was
for hours. Okay. So imagine now I also understand that the military, or at least the United States military, I think the biggest weapon that they have, the most strongest weapon, is propaganda. And the way that they could get you involved emotionally, how to manipulate your emotions, and then get you to be involved mentally, spiritually, with hunger and passion in the war, and specifically for kids and newcomers, right? So I'm not saying that Pearl Harbor was fake. I'm not saying Pearl Harbor didn't happen. And I'm not saying they staged it. What I'm saying is they know how to control people through chaos. They've done it many different ways and many different times and using many different types of weapons. So it's just the same playbook with a different coach, you would say.
Yeah, yeah, obviously. I mean, but um, remember what happened shortly after the 1940s, right after the Trinity test with the nuclear bombs, right after World War II, the establishment of the National Security Act happened, which was in 1947. And that was
Mhm.
signed by the 33rd president, by the way, Harry Truman, on what was
Holy
known as
crap.
the, yeah, on what was, he was a 33rd degree Mason, by the way, and
Mm.
on what was known as the Sacred Cow, which used to be what is now Air Force One, essentially. So yeah, it's just weird. There's always these, and by the way, in 1933, that's President Roosevelt, who was the 32nd president slash 33rd president. Because you can't really, I don't, you really kind of could count because he served 2 terms, remember? Or
Mm.
he served like 3 terms. So his first 2 terms, and then he served a
Wasn't it
third term.
Hoover? I thought it was Hoover that served the 3 terms. They're like the only
No, it was
president that did.
Roosevelt. That
It
was
was
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt.
Yeah,
Mm.
and he was a 32nd degree Mason who was buried on the 33rd parallel in Georgia. So, and he was the one who put the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill as well. So, for historical context, all around this time, around the 40s, you got, you know, I think Operation Mockingbird was in that realm as well. You mentioned media manipulation and things like that.
Mm.
What essentially started happening, I think, was that they were scaring people just like they did with 9/11. What happened after
Mhm.
9/11? We got the Homeland Security Act, right? Or what was it?
Mhm.
The Patriot Act,
Patriot Act. Hmm.
right after 9/11. And I think that's what they did. So the National Security Act basically created National Security Council, the CIA, the Department of Defense, the U.S. Air Force, the Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff. I mean, there was all kind of things that happened in 1947. And again, rewind 3 weeks before the National Security Act was signed on July 26, 1947. If you go back a few weeks before that, that was whenever the Roswell incidents had happened. So again, you got this show them there's this chaos going on. We really need all these intel agencies to, conflate all of mix all this. We need to we need to have a branch that investigates this. We need to have a Air Force that investigates space type stuff. This was before Space Force. So this is, I think what happened was that they basically created a money laundering system. The National Security Act did, of like where they can start funneling all this money. I really believe that something did actually happen in Roswell, but I think that when they recovered these crafts and when they recovered these alien bodies, they started working with these things. They started working with these things to get science and technology. And this sort of, you can see that all of a sudden we explode in aircraft and, rockets and all this stuff right after this time frame. And so I think that our government, not me and you, but our government had some kind of a deal with these demons to basically give them blood and sacrifice people and all these other things in exchange for medicine and technology and all this other stuff, scientific discovery. And because it's pretty evident what happened right after that. It was an explosion of technology.
I always ask, go ahead, bro.
No, I was just gonna say, I think that continues to this day.
I have to add, well, my question would be, why? I have two statements here. One, the question is, why would they take so long to release other technology? Is it because they have to reverse engineer it, they have to replicate it, or they don't have the funds for it? It'll be too impactful. People would get loose. They won't be able to control us anymore, or at least introduce it so that we can consume it, so that they could continue feeding the freaking machine, right? So it could all just it could blur. It could get very blurry. The why not they released it sooner enough. But then the question, the other situation comes up, and I'm thinking, well, just like what happened in the 1990s. So just quick, brief history. I'm adopted by a Mexican family when I was 12 years old. My real mom never took me to the clinic. I have one hepatitis B shot that I had to get as a freshman in high school, because while I was living with my adoptive family, because the foster system forced them to take me to the clinic. Mind you, this is what, 2011? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm 34 years old. So I'm like, okay, well, look at that. My mom never took me to the hospital. The one thing that she did right for me was not take me to get vaccinated. Here I am. But in the 1990s, we've seen this giant boom of pharmaceuticals getting introduced to our babies. I'm speaking for myself only because I live in California. So in California, at least, that's what it is. I think it's 86. Correct me if I'm wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Hashtag look it up. GTS that shit. Chat GPT that shit. I think it's 86 different cocktails of pharmaceuticals that get injected into your kid before your kid is 3 years old or 4 years old. The point is, we've seen this giant boom of cocktails being introduced into the bloodstream, and then in the 90s, that now are millennials and grown people that are aborting most of these kids, because most of the abortions are happening by millennials. If you look it up, is millennials and Gen Zs. So you're like, oh, look at that, Gen Alpha. So you're like, oh, what the heck? So, but we have all those cocktails in us. That's in our bloodstream. And then we're aborting fetuses or even newborn babies. And then we don't know where these parts are going, where these kids are going. And then we're feeding that machine. They're eating the blood of these innocent people, cocktailed up with all the freaking machines and nanotechnology and proteins that they're injecting us with. So it's a beautiful night. It's a beautiful night, a party for them, bro. They really do have a party with our blood. The bloodshed. It's insane.
Their agenda. So the demons of this world are the aliens. I just want to be clear about that for everybody listening. All the Wendigos and the skinwalkers and all the nonsense, all of that stuff are disembodied entities. These disembodied entities take the shape. They're skinwalkers. They take the shape. By the way, the government calls them fast walkers, which isn't very different from skinwalkers. And they call them fast walkers because they move fast. So their goal is, in my opinion, population control. We are created in God's image, and we are light beings, and they don't want us to continue create. So they want to corrupt that, and they want to quell the population, and they do so through wars, and they do so through uh, medicines, all these alleged medicines that are going to help us. And they do so through abortions, and they do so through all kinds of different things. And by the way, the
They're
immigration,
tainted.
yeah, and the immigration stuff, I don't think it's because of like when the left or whoever it is, I don't even point sides. I'll just say whoever it is controlling things, they want more people coming to this country because in other countries they have average of 5 or 6 kids, 4, 5, 6 kids. In the United States, we average 1.2 or something like that, and that has continuously declined. Now, I know a lot of people think that it's because like they want people to vote for them. I agree, that's part of it too. But also, I think so they can get people in here, get them on medicines, give them abortions, all this other stuff to kill God's people. So whenever I say it's spiritual warfare, I think it's literally spiritual warfare. I mean, they're killing. I'll read something off of the Georgia Guidestones that were blown up, right, a couple years ago, which was on the 33rd parallel. And some of the
By the
stuff that
way,
was, yeah, some of the stuff that was inscripted on it, it says, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature, among other things. There was 10 inscriptions on it, and that was one of them. And so their goal, if you look at this, there's this thing called the Deagle Report. If you look at the Deagle Report, which I wish I had quick access to right now, I could pull it up for you. It basically said by 2025, the population of the world is going to decrease suddenly to about 500 million. So that was, and I'm not trying to scare people into believing that, because to be honest with you, the only thing that the only thing that can control the future is us, our free will. I don't think that nobody can predict the future. I think that what they're trying to do is manipulate our energy and make us bring about whatever
make it
their
happen.
agenda is. Yeah, they're trying to make it happen. They're putting out this stuff in the airwaves to kind of guide our minds so we
And
can
materialize it.
materialize it. That's exactly right. Yeah. And so that's what I think is actually happening. I think they're trying to drive us towards whatever it is agenda that they want. But so the future can't be predicted. I'm not worried about any kind of cataclysms or anything like that because it is determined by us. And what happened in 2020 with all this COVID stuff is there was a reversal. It backfired. Whatever their agenda was backfired on them, and it woke everybody up suddenly, which is why we're all converging to this point, like I said now, to where it's becoming faster and faster. And everybody's like, people who are in my family are like, hey, man, tell me more about this, which, 7 years ago, they would have said I was crazy. Now
Oh
everybody wants
yeah.
to know more and more. So everybody's waking up. The light in us is activating, and we're waking up to all this stuff. And so, the biggest thing to point out, though, is the population control. They are literally saying this. I don't even have to tell you that. What is Bill Gates talking about? Population control. What is he trying to do? He's trying to block out the sun. What are they trying to do with chemtrails and all this stuff? Block out the sun. God's light is the sun. We are made in his image. We are essentially shot like God's light is this white light. By the way, the sun isn't yellow. The sun is white. It's a white light. If you look at the sun, have you ever seen a picture of the sun from space, by the way? It's just a bright white light. That white light shines through the ionosphere, which is the firmament, and refracts into the colors of us, the human, the HUE-MAN beings that we are. And this is God's covenant to us, the rainbow promise from after the flood.
Ooh.
So we are living in this protected bubble of light, of color, of light, right? And so again, we're in this 0.0035% of the electromagnetic spectrum. That means that
Boom.
99.965% is all dark entities, spirituality around us that we can't see.
Yes.
Okay. So that means that we're in this little tiny fraction of God's light, and everything out there is miserable, and they want to get into this Garden of Eden, frankly, of what we're in. We're in this Garden of
Word.
Eden now.
Yeah.
And this is perfect. And we have to realize now that this is like this is it. This is amazing where we're at right now. You know what I mean? I think
Hmm.
there is a heaven. Obviously, there's a place you go after this, but I think this is the Garden of Eden here on earth. So I think that we have to very carefully watch our energy, watch where we put our energy, watch what we consume. I'm not a hypocrite. I am doing this stuff. I mean, I am a hypocrite, I guess you could say. I am doing some of this stuff too. I still drink alcohol, unfortunately. I still watch porn, all this other stuff. I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect person. I still cuss. I still do all these things, but I do recognize the fact that this is spiritual warfare on us. I do
Yeah.
know who owns all the porn companies. I do know who all, I do know what the alcohol, that's what they call alcohol spirits. Is so that
Hmm.
you're letting spirits into your body, that kind of stuff. But I want to make other people aware of this, because now that I know all this stuff, I am very cautious about everything I do, and I try to be the best person I can, which again, all this stuff, man, it makes sense when you look back at like why a lot of the monks and stuff, they like to fast and they like to not talk and they like to, because your words are powerful, your thoughts are powerful. And that's why they slow their minds down and they think about things about how they actually want to guide their thoughts, where they want to go, what are their intentions, that kind of stuff. We have to do the same thing, maybe not quite so much on a meditative, go out
Hmm.
to the into the mountains and stuff like that, but we have to learn how to control the noise in our own minds and be very clear about what we want. I'm going to keep talking. My battery died. I'm going to switch batteries for you, but go ahead and
No problem.
add whatever you want to add to it.
I feel compelled to amplify that message. And my good friend from Bo, my good friend Bo from the Bump podcast, um, he said, and I like quoting people that I've had on the show before. He goes, if it's not godly, it's the other guys. So I'm like, oh crap, you're right. It's only black or white, and it's only duality. And you know what? This knowledge is given to these people. It's given to everybody, and then everybody gets their interpretation, their opinion about it, and then they start presenting it and twisting it, kind of like how the rainbow has been twisted, kind of like how alchemizing and magical abuse, not abuse, using magic is twisting that message, that knowledge, that sacred knowledge. Even the way that they build their buildings and stuff, like we covered on the 33rd parallel first episode that we did. And it's the introduction of their own twisted, dark idea of what it is to be God or godly. And this is why you have all the interpretations of different types of the Bible and different types of other religions and stuff. But even at that, uh, like from battle all the way from the Battle of LA to the day that we are right now, year to date, and you see everything. Yeah, maybe they did use that to use as propaganda and have a young kid from LA in different areas join the force and then go, the allied nations, and then go defeat Hitler and whoop de whoop. Maybe. Or maybe it was that they were trying to have a deep communication, or they were fighting off a demon or anything. But what I do know, nobody knows that. But what I do know is this: we have been exposed to these situations, to these energies, to the foods, to the parasites, to the illnesses, to the sickness, to the manipulation, to the mental illness, and going back full circle for too long. And like we opened in the beginning of the show, this is the right time to feed this information. And we're, by all means, we're not asking you guys to believe us. We're asking you guys to take 5 seconds of your day, go to the search bar, and stop watching ads on TikTok, destroying your brain and your future brain, and traumatizing you for something that you're never gonna have, and bringing down your morale and bringing down your self-esteem and creating havoc within your insides, and keep drinking that beer and keep snorting that coke and keep fucking putting the pipe up and shit, and smoking that meth. And although it's a chain reaction, believe me, you know why I tell you? Because I lived it until 6 months ago when I let go of fucking meth. And every single day that I'm off it, and every single day that I don't give my energy to what they want me to consume, I stop and become a better parent, become a better father, a podcaster and creator, and then I live a little bit more in peace with God. It becomes more of a spiritual war, but you become more peaceful. I think peace is very important because they rob you from it. They rob your ideas and your intelligence, your creativity. You could be, and again, I thank you for your service. You could be the most kick-ass pilot in the U.S. Navy and in the U.S. Air Force, but what's it all good for if you could be the best pilot in the world, but you come back home and then you do harm to others and then you end up killing yourself?
Well, dude, we're brainwashed in the military to believe that we're fighting for some good cause. I heard the guy who killed bin Laden, I forgot his name, talking about that. He's like, he kind of regrets his service. Yeah, dude, me too. And I didn't kill people like he did, obviously, but we're just brainwashed to believe a certain thing. And it's at full scale in the world. I just watched a video the other day, or maybe it was today, of a lady who works at a building and she was yelling at this guy, "You can't be here, you can't park here." And the guy was wearing like an orange Prada jacket, right? But his jacket looked like he was like a construction worker, the color of it. And she was yelling at him to the top of her lungs. And I just could tell that that woman was brainwashed. And the guy kept telling her, "I am a business owner here, I am a CEO." And she said, "You don't belong here." And she was just on and on. That's what they've done to us. First of all, I think there are people who might be non-playable characters. I don't want to go down that road, I guess, but unless you want to, but like, I think that there are people who are put here to affect us and to affect our energy and to slow us down from creating and being the beings that we're supposed to be, the human beings
Word.
that we're supposed to be. But I do believe that there are people who are brainwashed into believing a narrative, and they're easily manipulated because all they have to do is go to the source. When we're first born, the first thing they do is put us in schools and they indoctrinate us with whatever information they want. That way, 20 years from now, when someone says, "I think the earth is flat," the people who have been indoctrinated to that automatically go, "You're wrong. I hate you. You're stupid. You're an idiot, blah, blah, blah," because that's what they've been conditioned to believe. That's what they've been trained to believe. So I don't even know where I was going with all that, but I think that
I know that's what happened to me earlier too, and I was like, I'm just gonna flow with it. Brainwashed. We're all freaking brainwashed,
yeah,
bro.
brainwashed, dude. That's what it is. We're all brainwashed to in a certain way. And when you wake up to the world again, that's why I have the show called The Awakened Podcast. This is still a journey for me. Listen, I still love those TikTok videos with asses and stuff too. Believe it or not, like I love looking at asses too. What man doesn't like looking at asses? But it does. It definitely lowers your energy. You know what I'm
But
saying?
as long as you try to like, okay, enough. And, okay, one, two, okay, go. The third one, you know what? Wait, like, I need to look at some more Trump
Yeah.
stuff or something.
But even the Trump stuff, dude, it's like I can't even
Yeah.
watch politics stuff anymore because I just know, like all the space shuttle thing that with the Katy Perry stuff. I kind of I got my ear to the ground a little bit. I kind of know a little bit what's going on, but I haven't studied
Me neither, bro.
the
Neither have
intricacies of
I.
it. I just
Yeah.
don't care. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't because whether it's real or whether it's not real, it's all that. Why would they show that? Why? Think about it for a second. Why would they continue to push that on in every news article? Why would they push it on every channel or whatever? Why would they push it all over social media? What's the purpose of that? It's probably to manipulate you in some way. And our government has a program that was started in the 40s called the Smith-Mundt Act that was updated by Obama in 2012 called the
Mm.
Smith-Mundt Modernization Act that legally allows them to propagandize us. So everything you watch now since 2012 has been legal propaganda, which is about the time that the world started kind of going crazy, right? Was 2012. It was like all of a sudden, it felt like what happened? We stopped being funny. We stopped watching like frat pack type movies like the what's the guy, Will Ferrell and all those guys, right? We stopped watching all those Anchorman type movies and we started getting all sensitive about everything. And again, I think that was all by design. It was all a narrate, yeah, and that was what happened with the transgender stuff too, right? Right. I mean, it was like all this stuff is by design to quell the population, to control your mind. Again, that's what government means. Govern means to steer. Ment means mind. So if you don't take away anything from this conversation that we're having right now, remember that government means literally means to steer minds. Okay. So that's what they have. They have a whole propaganda arm of tens of thousands of people. And not only that, that's government employees through the State Department, but they have They're tendrils in every governmental organization. That's why you're starting to see some of this stuff with USAID and all that other stuff. You're starting to see this now. I knew this 2008. Obama expanded the nonprofit. I forgot the name of the
Nonprofit.
yeah, he expanded the approval of nonprofits. And remember what happened with Lois Lerner. Lois Lerner and him were basically, and this is true. This is she admitted. I mean, she didn't admit it. The government investigated and determined that she was basically throwing away all of the Republican or conservative type nonprofits that were being submitted, and she was ballooning and like putting all the left-leaning liberal stuff on fast track to get funding immediately. I mean, I think I saw something the other day that Stacey Abrams got funding within a couple weeks, and there was this other guy who was trying to get funding for some kind of a creating lithium batteries that took like many years or something like that. So these people who are on the right, are on the if you're on the right side of whatever policies or whatever politics it is, you're going to get fast tracked to funding and all this stuff. So that's what Obama did. He expanded the nonprofits basically, and all of these nonprofits, including his own Organizing for Action, started getting all these monies from the government to basically promote like all these policies. Obama Organizing for Action in 2014, I remember watching this during the political debates. I'm a web designer, and I was looking up like because most of the good web designers are liberal, believe it or not. And I, at the time, I was very conservative, and I still am libertarian, conservative, whatever you want to call me. But I'm definitely not liberal, whatever that craziness is over there, right? So it's like, but I would go to all these different websites to look up different ideas for doing web design because they were pretty good at it. And I remember going to Organizing for Action, and I was like just browsing around, and I saw this. It said sign up for this pamphlet, and the pamphlet was like basically you if you signed up, they sent, and I didn't keep it. I wish I would have kept it because this was in 2014. I wasn't really thinking about keeping it. You give your email address, and they send you a pamphlet. The pamphlet basically said how to organize and do all of the stuff that happened during the George Floyd riots. That's what these pamphlets describe. It described how you could literally go into the courtroom, separate, like if there's a group of 15 people, spread them out throughout Congress, throughout like a congressional hearing, and then one by one have everybody start yelling something to make it sound like the entire audience is against whatever policies are coming. This is how detailed it was. Whoa. That was just one way that was how they could disrupt. Another way they were saying like, here's how to get information on getting signs created. Look at all these signs, dude. All these signs all over the place during these riots. How the hell I was about to cuss on your show, but I'm trying to keep it PG, right? How the hell do all these people who are at a spontaneous riot always have the exact same signs? So I'm a graphic designer. Signs first of all, it takes time for a graphic designer to make them. Then it takes time for the print shop to print them because print shops are usually very busy. They have a wait time of a week or two. So how do these spontaneous protests all of a sudden have time, to immediately signs to be created? So what I'm trying to say is that all these protests were basically paid for. And that's what Organizing for Action was doing. That's what that pamphlet that they sent me in my email was saying. Like, you can get paid to do it. That's what this thing was saying. There's ways to get paid. You basically go and you fill out a thing. They give you a voucher for like $1,200 a day or something like that. And you go and you throw bricks at a window or you hold up signs and picket. This shit was orchestrated, dude. That's how deep it was. So then, not long after that, Breitbart I met Andrew Breitbart, by the way, in 2009, very cool guy. Breitbart did an article on this, and they exposed all of this right after I had discovered this. And then all of a sudden, Organizing for Action turned into Obama for America. OFA from Organizing for Action.
Rebranding.
Right, they rebranded it. And the Organizing for Action portion went to George Soros. And so
interesting.
Yeah, so he basically took over all the email addresses and stuff that people signed up. It went all to him, and it took it away from Obama. Well, that website was taken off for many years. I went to what is the Wayback Machine where you can go look up old websites, and it wasn't, none of that stuff was nowhere to be found online. And then I went back a couple years ago, and I saw that they went in 2020, and basically that same pamphlet that I talked about just now, they went in and added a new version of it. So someone was adjusting the Wayback Machine and altering all the links and stuff from 2014 to 2020 at least. They took it offline so people couldn't see what was going on, and then they put it back online with a new twisted version to make it look like, oh, Obama was the devil, dude. He literally, this has nothing to do with politics. That dude was evil. Yeah, right. He basically he's the what caused all this these last 13 years or 15 years or whatever it's been. He's the one who caused all of this stuff. He's the one pulling the strings behind it. And guess what they're all doing right now? Every single one of them, Hillary Clinton, Obama, Stacey Abrams, Susan Rice, they all have production companies or they work for Netflix. So what does that tell you?
Or they signed up to be in inside an entertainment agency.
Yeah,
I think
that's what
Biden
I'm
just
saying.
signed up to be an actor. What the fuck?
Dude,
Correct me if I'm
the
wrong.
world is a stage. They're manipulating us through the media. All of them are actors. Even the conservatives. I hate to tell people that. They're all puppets for a higher regime somewhere that's pulling the strings and paying them a lot of money. There are lots of theories on who that is. I think it's becoming pretty evident to a lot of people nowadays who that is, who those people
Mhm.
are, right?
Dude with the funny hats that pretend to be the guys with the funny hats,
Right,
pretending
yeah,
to
yeah.
be a guy with the funny pretending
Right,
hat.
yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
So, I think it's becoming more and more evident. And I'm gonna tell you this
Wow.
now, man. I ain't scared of these motherfuckers ever because I got God on my side. I'm not worried about them.
Word.
I really ain't. I ain't scared of spiritual warfare. They can come attack me in my sleep tonight. They did the other night when I was talking to my cousins, like I was telling you before the show.
Mm.
Send you send whoever you got, man. I got God on my side. I got light on my side, protecting me and guiding. God's guiding us. We've been through some stuff. We've been through the darkness. We know what it's like. Now we're trying to shine a beacon of light for others, and that's what is to me. That's what this spiritual battle was about. We have to first reveal, or that's why it's called a revelation. We have to reveal these things, these who the demons are, and who helps them. So there obviously there are people here on earth helping the darkness, right? So
Mhm.
who is that kingdom of the devil? And we're sort of exposing all that now. And again, more and more, that's why it's called revelation. That's why it's called an awakening or the great awakening, is because our eyes are becoming more open to it every day. And it's not something that can happen right away. Awakenings happen very slowly over time. It's not something that just you can't just all of a sudden wake up. It's just like waking someone when they're sleeping, right? When you go and
Mm.
shake somebody when they're sleeping, they wake up, they're going to freak out a little bit. You have
Yeah.
to slowly wake them up with a little bits of information here and there. I'm not wrong about any of this stuff I said, by the way. What I just said about organizing for action, that was my first moment where I went, what the hell is going on here? Because I posted about it on Facebook and it was taken down once. I posted about it again 30 seconds later after it was deleted, and it was taken down again. So somebody was watching that information and it was immediately being taken down. And
Hashtag you at this point you would have to hashtag look it up.
but you can't because they control the internet, dude. It's that's why they call it the dead internet. I don't think the internet is actually dead. I think it's actually just buried. And I do this for a living. I do marketing and web design and search engine optimization for a living. So I know specifically how they do this kind of stuff. And again, that just goes down a whole nother rabbit hole. But they are manipulating search engine algorithms to affect. I mean, there are people right now. You could go Google the 33rd parallel, which you should see all kind of stuff from me, and you won't find my name anywhere. You might in certain regions or certain keywords or whatever the case is, but if you
Mm.
Google the Awakened podcast, you will find my website only. You won't find my Spotify. You won't find my Apple, despite having thousands of followers on there, and despite being on big shows like Tinfoil Hat and the Confessionals and other shows and Paranoi Radio and stuff like that. You're not going to find my show. on any of those links because
What?
you're being shadow banned. Yeah, if you type in the Awakened podcast, you'll get every other podcast that's called the Awakened something, before you get mine. And again, I wouldn't say like a huge following, but it's enough to where it should affect the algorithm to where I'm at least near the top. But my website, because I know a lot about search engine optimization, I know how to optimize websites to get my website at the top. Now, I don't think they've discovered my website yet, and they haven't put me on the blacklist yet. Once they do find that website, they're gonna quickly ban that, and all you got to do is look at what they did to Breitbart. They basically took them off the web. You have to type in Breitbart.com just to get their website. You can't just
Holy
go. Yeah, I don't know if it's changed, but you can't just go to Google and type in Breitbart and get their website. It used to not be that way. Now, hopefully, it's changed
Oh,
because they're getting a little
a
heat.
little savvy with it.
Yeah.
They're getting
Maybe-
creative with it.
So, but yeah, dude. I mean, it's all spiritual
This
warfare, all this stuff, man. And our government is clearly working with these demons and all of these things that you've seen throughout history. And that all started in the 40s with Roswell, with the creation of the atom bomb, with the Battle of LA, all this stuff, dude. At the same time, Disneyland, which, Disneyland in Anaheim, California is on the 33rd parallel, and they got Club 33. You know what I mean?
don't
All
even
this
get me
stuff.
started there, man. We got a freaking another rabbit hole, just to say the least, on that place. I did like 3 episodes deep diving on even the structures and how they freaking built and they pump up the smells and how they count 20 steps to put every single trash can. I'm telling you, bro, it's orchestrated, bro.
Yeah, dude, of
Anyway,
course it is.
I really I don't want to take any more time, but I have to let you know. Um, this episode is a freaking banger. A fucking banger, dude. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming in today, bro. I thank you for sharing this moment with me. I needed this boost more than anybody, if anything, because I was dragging my ass today, bro. And just having a conversation with another fellow freedom fighting man and father and podcaster and creating energy and then bouncing it off each other and then feeding it to the audience. I think this is what I live for. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here again, bro. Everybody, make sure you check him out. Brad from the Awaken Podcast, awakenpodcast.com. He's on the description of the show. He's also on Paranoi Radio on the drop down menu of special guests and links in case you can't find them. And you can also find them on Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. Do not forget to drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify for the Awaken Podcast and on Paranoi Radio, because that allows other people to enjoy the show as much as I enjoy making it. Peace out. That was awesome.